UFC Fight Night Walker vs. Zhang is coming up next weekend, and today, guys, I have the full card breakdown with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Usually, what I tell you is we're going to break down all these fights. We're going to dive as deep as possible as we can get into each matchup and to give my thoughts, predictions. While I am going to do all of that, as of right now, as of recording this video, and depending on when you're watching this, I'm recording this pretty early, a couple weeks before. So far, there's only 2 lines of betting right now, so unfortunately, I can't dive into the betting odds for today, but we will be making a betting guide video diving into all of these matchups. So, timestamps will be there. If you'd like to skip to any part of the video, let's get started with the first fight. And the first fight on this card is going to be Michel Pereira taking on UFC returning Kyle Daukaus. I'm actually quite excited for this fight, guys. I always like watching Michel Pereira, and I kind of want Kyle Daukaus to win, but I like Michel Pereira. It's a tough one, man, but let's break these two fighters down. Okay, we'll start with Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira, he's an extremely powerful and flashy striker with a good ground game to back that up. He's also just, like, in general, a very strong guy, and unfortunately, all of that just lasts until the first round is over. Historically, though, he's always fought like that, but in his last performance particularly, he was not explosive one little bit, and he was able to, like, keep some of that energy, but he still faded in the first round. So, honestly, I'm not sure if he's going to come in with that same game plan because, like, it wouldn't surprise me if he did change things up after the humiliating loss that he suffered against Alexander Hernandez, which is aging well, but at the same time, he didn't really look good at all in that fight. In my opinion, explosive Michel Pereira is the best Michel Pereira, and I hope that he goes back to it because, like, in this matchup, he has some potential, but I'm not so sure about it if technical Michel Pereira shows up like last time. He's still in his prime, he's decently active, and there's always room for improvement. It's tough because this is one of those things where I don't want to sound disrespectful in these videos, but when we're talking about things like what I'm about to talk about, I find myself agreeing with the MMA guru when he talks about this stuff, okay? I don't understand how you can have less than a round's worth of cardio if you are a professional athlete. Like, I get that he comes out, he puts on the gas, and he has a ton of muscle mass, but there really is no excuse for how bad it is at this level. Anyways, though, he's on a 2-fight skid. He's looking to put things back together. I like him. It's sometimes I just don't get how fighters end up like that sometimes. You know what I mean? But he's taking on Kyle Daukaus, the UFC returning Kyle Daukaus. Kyle Daukaus, he is a good grappler with okay striking. He has good takedowns and good takedown defense, along with a decent clinch game to back all of that up. Since leaving the UFC, he went on a 4-fight win streak, and before I continue, guys, if you've been following the channel, you might have heard me say something along the lines of, like, I'm always as honest as possible when I'm making these videos. When it comes to the UFC specifically, I am familiar with the vast majority, if not, like, every fighter on the roster. And I watch organizations and I keep up with organizations outside the UFC. And a lot of times, when a new fighter comes around, I've already watched them fight in another organization. I do not watch the promotion that Kyle went to. And I have not even seen a single highlight from him since he left the UFC. All I know is literally what I'm looking at on Tapology on my screen right here, and that's that he got 4 wins and hasn't fought in over the year. I just want to be honest, like, and I know already what you might be writing down below. There's bound to be some of you. You need to do your research. How unprofessional. Like, I don't know how many times I need to say this, guys. Look, I am a fight fan first. I love the sport, and I really don't care to watch Kyle Daukaus fight in another promotion. I keep up with what I like to keep up, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it doesn't take away from my analysis on this sport, but I already know that I'm going to get those comments. We will see. Will we see, like, an improved version of Kyle Daukaus? Not a clue. Like, he did go down to level competition when he was winning. It's just like, I already know there's a bunch of YouTubers that are going to be out there talking like, oh my god, I watched every single one of Kyle Daukaus' performance. While some of them might be telling the truth there, I always want to be honest with you guys over here, and if your takeaway from this entire breakdown, because I'm familiar with the rest of the fighters on the card, well, I'm familiar with Kyle Daukaus, I just haven't watched him since he left the UFC. It's a tough one, man, because I know there's going to be those guys out there where it's like, really? You run a betting YouTube channel? You run a betting YouTube channel and you don't know what Kyle Daukaus was doing? I know I'm going to get those people, and I'm like, I have my bets the last months have been doing phenomenal, you know? Leave me alone. I'm good at breaking down fights, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna gas myself out up a little bit there. I'm good at what I do, man. I think that I have some good analysis on some fights, okay? Now, when these two match up, the problem is, again, what version of each fighter is going to show up? If this was pre-technical Michel Pereira and Kyle Daukaus before he left the UFC, I'd be like, Michel Pereira is going to absolutely dummy this guy. But I worry if Michel Pereira shows up and tries to look technical like he did in his last bout. If that's the case, I don't know how he's going to do. Kyle Daukaus, is he an improved guy? Not a clue. This is one of those fights that I kind of want to actually bet on, because I think that, like, from historically how these two have been, Michel Pereira should come out and he should finish Kyle Daukaus in the first round. But I'm stopping myself. I'm going to pick Michel Pereira because I think it's more likely that he still comes out there, guns blazing, gets the job done. But hey, Kyle Daukaus might have improved in that time. So it's a tough one, but I am going to pick Michel Pereira in this first bout that we have here. Let's continue on up the card, though, guys, to Yizha taking on Westin Wilson. Let's break these two fighters down first before we talk about my prediction over here, and we'll start with Yizha. Yizha is a great, well-rounded Muay Thai striker with great technique. He has a great clinch game and also fights with just nice skills on the ground as well. He has good submissions, he has good cardio, he has good fight IQ, and in most of his fights, he pushes a good pace when he's in there. After returning to the UFC, after the road to the UFC, he unfortunately got battered by Gabriel Santos, and while he did get beat up in that fight, he did show some good skill and good will to win and fought through like the entire fight, taking some pretty good damage. He's still he's an okay fighter. He has a good record. He just ran into a hiccup in the UFC. Anyways, he's taking on Westin Wilson, and Westin Wilson is a karate-styled striker who likes to keep things at bay, keep things at range, and also has some good BJJ behind that. Unfortunately, he has major durability issues and can get hit because he keeps his hands down. Now, I'm really happy to see that Westin Wilson is coming off of a win finally in the UFC, because coming into the organization, he got fed to some absolute dogs in both Joe Anderson Brito and Gene Silva. He bounced back and got a nice win over Jekka, which, honestly, and I don't know how many of you are going to comment down below about this one, I think it's a little bit of an underrated win. So, regardless, he is in a need for like another win right now. He's been looking, at least he's coming off of a win, man. Like, I hate to, it's tough because it looks like he does have durability issues, but again, Joe Anderson Brito, Gene Silva, those guys would wipe the floor with anybody, and if Yizha had those two names, he'd get destroyed by them as well. So it's honestly, this is another one that's a little bit tough to pick, man. I don't know. Can Westin Wilson keep him at bay? Maybe. It's tough. He's been in there with some dogs. Yizha came in. He came into the UFC, ended up getting destroyed. Ooh, this is another tough fight, guys. This is another tough fight. I think this is a coin flip, man. I think it's a coin flip, and I'm going to go with Westin Wilson to get the job done. Gun to my head, Westin Wilson. I don't know about that one, dude. I have no clue who's going to win that fight. But now, again, let's continue on up the card, though, guys, to Maheshate Hayisaer taking on Gage Young. This is also a little bit of a sneaky good fight over here. Let's break these two down, okay? Maheshate Hayisaer is a well-rounded fighter who does a good job with technical striking and grappling to back all of that up. The only real strong critique I have about him is that he needs to move his head more. He's been in the UFC, sorry if you can hear my notification there, guys. He's been in the UFC for a little while. He's having some success with some decent performances, and even his losses, he's had some okay performances. He's 10-4, and like we were just talking about with a couple other guys, he is finding himself in a must-win situation in this bout. He's taking on Gage Young, who I'm actually excited to see back, man. And because, honestly, there isn't too much to break down about Gage Young. He's just a well-rounded fighter. He's got lots of heart, lots of grit inside of him. After watching him for the first time on the Contender Series, my personal takeaway from Gage Young was that he wasn't really ready for the UFC and the big organization. He got the call to step up against Elvin Elder, and honestly, he fought pretty well against a good fighter for taking it on short notice. So here he is again, taking on another tough opponent, and honestly, I hope the guy does well. After that last fight, I would really like to see Gage Young stick around, because he's being a little bit underrated, and I think that from the looks of Gage Young, man, he seems like he is not motivated to keep his place, but he seems like that will to win, that little bit of grits in there. And I'm gonna pick Gage Young. I know that it was a little bit his performances have been questionable. It's just he came in, I liked what I've seen from Evan Elder, man. He didn't get the job done. It wasn't the best performance in the world, but perhaps I underrated him a little bit. And Maheshate Hayisaer was never really anything to write home about for me. So I'm going to pick Gage Young in this fight. But it's another tough fight. It's another one that I personally wouldn't bet on. It's a little tough to call. But now we continue on, guys. And as we continue on up this card is actually like really sneaky good. We have Rongzhu taking on Austin Thud Hubbard. Excuse me. Let's break these two down over here. We'll start with Rongzhu over here on the left. Rongzhu is a really clean striker who excels when he's at range. He is patient. He picks his shots well. He makes his shots count. And he has really slick striking defense. He has a stinging jab. He has great cardio. His leg and body kicks are also super powerful. It's one of those things like they just land really flush. It's nice to watch. He also recently moved gyms, and so far, the guy has looked vastly improved. After doing well on the road to the UFC, he got kind of unlucky against Crosbie, where he was dominating that performance and just ended up getting caught with one elbow that blew up his eye, and the fight ended up getting called. So he was well on track to winning that fight, but at the end of the day, he did get caught in that bout. And in this sport, man, like all it takes is one shot. I hate to say unlucky in these videos, but in a way, I almost like can't help but think that. Anyways, I spent way too much time talking about that one particular fight. He then took on Cody Steele after that, and in that fight, it was an absolute war. His striking in that fight was incredible, and I believe he's just been improving every fight we've seen him in, and he is a very underrated fighter, and it looks like they've been doing really great things at that gym, so I'm excited to see him perform again. Now, he is taking on Austin Hubbard. Austin Hubbard, on the other hand, is a well-rounded fighter. He does his best work when he's on the feet. He has good cardio. He has good heart. He has good power. Since joining the UFC with Austin Hubbard, he's had a pretty spotty record where he's looked good in some bouts and had some close fights. Now, I feel like we kind of know what level he's at. He's UFC caliber, but unfortunately, I don't believe he will accomplish much in the organization, and I really feel bad saying that. I don't want to sound disrespectful in these videos. It's just I kind of think that we know the level of Austin Hubbard. While I can't say that for Rongzhu yet, because again, he's still improving, and he's been on like a pretty nice win streak, man. And I like him in this fight. The stats are going to be pretty similar, and I feel like that for the most part, this fight's going to stay on the feet. And if the fight stays on the feet, I like Rongzhu to just be better technically. Like I said, use those stinging jabs. He's going to beat Austin Hubbard to the punch. He's not even in his prime yet. I like what I've seen from him so far, and he's had some really fun performances. And like I said, he's been improving. He's been looking good at the gym. So I'm going to take Rongzhu to get the job done. I'm curious at like what some of these betting odds will be, guys. But again, look out for the betting guide video. We will be releasing that too. Let's continue on up the card though, guys. One more fight, and then we get into some bangers, okay? But this should be an okay fight too. We have Xiao taking on Su Young Yu. We're going to talk about these two, okay? Starting with Xiao over here on the left. Xiao is a well-rounded fighter with particularly good BJJ. He has good cardio, and he does a good job controlling where he wants the fight to go. Also, on top of that, he has incredible heart. He's strong in the clinch, and he has really nice elbows. He's been on a really nice win streak, and he's had some good performances as well. He's in his prime. He's looking to pick up another win here. The dude's been looking good, and he's just, like I said, he's in his prime, but he's just entering his prime, so there's still room for improvement as well. Su Young Yu, on the other hand, he's a well-rounded fighter with pretty sharp kickboxing and a good ground game to back all of that up. He has nice kicks, he has nice combinations, he has nice fight IQ, and pretty good pressure behind all that. He has also been looking really good. He's had a couple fights in the UFC, and he's had some clear wins. He's on a little bit of a roll, also in his prime, and this should be a pretty good fight, to be honest with you guys. And this is one of those things where it's a little bit... This is another one of those fights that's really tough to gauge because, again, both of them have looked pretty good in their recent performances. And the problem is the competition level that I've seen from both of them, because there's really nothing to write home about both of these guys coming into the UFC, in my opinion. I think that Xiao excels just a little bit more in some of the things that he does, and I'm going to ever so slightly lean to him. But this is, again, one of those fights that I particularly don't believe that you should be betting on. There's a few really tricky fights on this card, but I'm going to pick Xiao to get the job done in this one, man. But now, guys, let's continue on to the fight on the card that I am personally most excited for. We have Loner Kavanagh taking on Charles Johnson. Guys, I don't know how this is not the co-main event. I do know how it's not the co-main event because the name value on the card here, but at least the featured fight. Come on, man. This is such a good bout, and I'm excited to watch this fight, dude. This is what I'm waking up at like 3 a.m. for. I'm going to be on vacation, too. I'm excited for this one, man. We'll start with breaking down Loner Kavanagh. Loner Kavanagh, man, he is a well-rounded, very violent fighter who excels in kickboxing. He has good power on the feet with good speed behind that, and he does a good job finding openings with his shots. He also has great cardio. He's very durable and has all of the heart in the world. Loner is one of those guys that I'm honestly already convinced of. I believe he has a very bright future in the UFC, no matter if he picks up some losses here and there, doesn't matter. Usually, I'm not all aboard a train this early in someone's career, but I really do believe that Loner Kavanagh is going to be something special one day. He's looking so good, improving so well at such a young age too. He's not even 27 years old, 28 in his prime. He has that grit in his eyes, if that makes sense. He's only had 2 fights since winning the Contender Series, and he's coming off of that insane, phenomenal, technical, and violent war with Felipe dos Santos, who I also believe Felipe dos Santos is a pretty good fighter, man. Both guys in that fight had their stock raised. It was a close fight, but Kavanagh, in my opinion, was the proper winner in that bout. He's coming into this fight looking good with all of the hype in the world, man, and I'm excited to see him perform. I really do think that. I really do think he has a bright future ahead of him, and I know it's so early, and I know we're going to hear fraud check if he loses, but still, I'm excited. But he is taking on a dog in Charles Johnson. Now, Charles Johnson is a stand-up fighter with excellent speed and technique. He has really great cardio, he has really good heart, and he has underrated power on the feet. He is always live in these bouts. Now, unfortunately, he can suffer a little bit with high-pressure wrestlers, but he does have fantastic submission and transition defense. The only other thing to note that I like about Charles Johnson is this guy will listen to his corner. If you guys have been following the channel, you might have heard me talk about Charles Johnson before, and usually I gas this guy up. I've been watching him well since before he came over to the UFC, and I've always loved watching this dude perform. He has fought nothing but absolute animals, and he's looked really, really good doing so, even beating Joshua Vamp. The guy's resume is insane, and he literally is one of the most underrated, underappreciated fighters on this roster. Unfortunately, he just had his win streak broken and snapped against Ramazan Tamirov, where it was a close fight. In my opinion, that could have gone either way, but still, it was a technical brawl. As usual, he just got better as the fight went on. He just had a really rough round 1, and there wasn't really a ton to note in that bout. Even in the losses that Charles Johnson takes, the guy looks really good when he performs. And while I'm excited about the career of Loner Kavanagh, I am definitely cheering for Charles Johnson to get the job done here, man. When you have these guys that consistently put on really fun performances, aren't afraid to take on tough guys, aren't being entitled by the UFC, being like, no, give me my title shot. The dude is just fighting the toughest of the tough, and he's doing a good job doing so. And this is another one of those fights that I could see going either way, guys. I could see Loner Kavanagh maybe choosing to go to the ground with Charles Johnson. But I'm going to pick Charles Johnson in this fight because he has had so much more experience against top-level guys. And while I do believe that Loner Kavanagh can compete with a guy like Charles Johnson, he's probably going to he's probably going to face somebody who's a lot more experienced than he has in the past. So I'm leaning towards Charles Johnson in this bout. And it's important to note, too, they're in the flyweight division. One of these days are going to come where Charles Johnson shows up and he's looking a little bit old. He's had a lot of fight miles on his body already, man. But Loner Kavanagh looks good. This is a great fight. It's a shame that somebody has to lose. I'm going to lean towards Charles Johnson in this bout, but it is a phenomenal matchup. This is literally the fight on the card that I'm most excited for. Now, guys, let's continue on up the card again over to Diyar Nurgozhay, and I'm sorry. You know, it's things like this that I have difficulties pronouncing their name because I haven't said it enough. I hope you guys just understand that I know what I'm talking about with these fighters. He's taking on Uran Satybaldiev. Okay, let's break these two guys down, man. We're going to start with Diyar Nurgozhay. He is a heavy-handed striker with good power in both of his hands and his feet. We still have questions about how exactly good his grappling is and how good he is against any level of competition. He got submitted in his last fight, but in my opinion, I still didn't really see enough to really judge what level he's at there. He did have a lot of hype coming into the UFC, man, and all of that just got kind of taken away, and here we are, wondering how his next bout's going to go. It's just funny to me how that works sometimes, man. Like, everybody could have all the hype in the world. This guy's going to be champion one day. Watch it happen to Loner. Anyways, Uran Satybaldiev is an alpha male fighter who is decently well-rounded. He has good takedowns, he has subpar ground and pound, and he can definitely slug it out on the feet. He's also coming off of his UFC debut loss to Martin Bidet, which he took on, I believe it was 2 days' notice. If I'm wrong, it was like a few days. It was within fight week, and he actually had a good performance. He just ended up slightly losing the bout. So it's one of those guys. It's, again, a fight between two guys that are new to the UFC. They have a lot to prove. And there are a lot of really tough fights to pick on this fight, guys. Or a lot of tough fights to pick on this card, guys. Because this is another one where I could really see going in either way. I'm going to pick Uran to get the job done. Maybe there is a hole that we don't know about. Like, and again, I know that Diyar just got submitted, but I still didn't see enough of his grappling. We never really have seen enough of his grappling. Maybe he just got caught. Who knows? I'm going to go with the options that Uran Satybaldiev will have. Again, it's another tough one. He's got the reach advantage. I could see him getting cranked, though. There's quite a few fights on this card, guys, that I believe you shouldn't be betting on. That's certainly one of them, but I'm going to go with Uran to get the job done. Now, guys, as you know, I do talk a lot about betting on this channel, so if you would either like to support the channel or seeing exactly what I'm doing with my money each week, check out the channel membership, which is very cheap compared to other channels, in the pinned comment description down below or right next to the subscribe button. Every single Friday or Saturday morning, depending on whether or not I would like to bet on Friday fights, I'll be posting a community members post along with a members-only video explaining exactly what I'm doing with my money, each card. It's not just UFC. Mostly I am a UFC bettor, but I'm familiar with other organizations as well. So again, if you would either like to support the channel or seeing what I'm doing with my money, then you can check out the channel membership. Again, additionally, we also use the tool OddsJam on the channel. If you would like to sign up to OddsJam, you can get a discount using my link in the pinned comment description down below. Using code Clenbat, you can get a discount at OddsJam. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Let's continue on with the main card today. And kicking off the main card, guys, we have Taiyilake Nurgozhay, I'll say Super Saiyan, versus Kiefer Crosbie, okay? And again, I'm sorry about the name pronunciation, guys. I've been working on that as much as I can, but some of these names, man, they don't come out of my mouth enough to have me really remember these, okay? So we'll start off with the Super Saiyan. He's a decently well-rounded fighter who likes to do damage on the feet. He has pretty good and seemingly improving kickboxing game with really good clinch work. Along with that, he has very, very sneaky, strong, damaging elbows with really nice knees too. He also isn't afraid to get flashy on the feet, and his attacks aren't too bad when doing so. Nothing significant has happened to him yet, but when he goes for finishes, he's super open to getting countered. So I'm worried about that one, but it's like sometimes it's like he takes on an Alex Pereira stance, but not being as good as Alex Pereira, if that makes sense. He's on a really nice win streak, having some nice performances, and he's only 24 years old, man. He's almost 25 years old, and like I said, he seems to have been improving. The only issue is we haven't seen him fight any good level of competition. So we'll have to wait for a performance like this. We'll have to wait for his UFC debut to really judge how good he is. And I see a world where the dude gets clipped sometimes, man. You know, fighting like the Alex Pereira, but again, you're not as good. Kiefer Crosbie, on the other hand. Let's talk about Kiefer Crosbie. He is an Irish national kickboxing champion. He is a wild and powerful striker with, like, good power behind his hands. He shines at pressuring, but sometimes that pressure will work against Kiefer Crosbie because he's always looking for a finish, and he can just, like, get caught, he can get taken down, but unfortunately, he hasn't been able to pick up a UFC win so far, but he did lose to two pretty decent opponents, and I'm not sure how he's going to look here in this fight, man, because we haven't seen anything, like, really to note, man. He's already 35 years old, and he's, like, already finding himself in a must-win situation with 2 UFC losses, so at least he's gotten that UFC experience, though. That's the problem. Super Saiyan has a reach advantage. He's definitely going to want to keep things at length. I like the slicing elbows that we've seen. The problem is while I don't believe that the Super Saiyan's going to be really all of that in the UFC, at least I've seen things from him that go like, ooh, not bad. Ooh, you know, pretty good over there. That's pretty good. Excuse me, just a second, guys. My tracking turned off there. There we go. I put so much work into my camera. We're switching between back and forth over here. Anyways. It's another tough fight, man. Another tough fight, but I'm going to pick the Super Saiyan to get the job done over here. But again, it is not a confident pick whatsoever. I want to have some hard takes on this card, but it's been a tough one to break down. But let's continue on, guys, up the card again to another really fun fight. We have Nueraji taking on Kevin Borjas, and this should be a good bout between two pretty good contenders. Let's break these two down over here. We'll start with Nueraji over here on the left, and Nueraji is a fast and accurate striker with great movement, great volume, great cardio. He can be taken down, and at times he can struggle with pressure, although that game is improving. He finally ended up snapping his 3-fight losing streak, where honestly, against Mitch Rapso, not a ton happened. He's had some okay performances even in his losses, but like, there honestly really isn't too much to note about them. I'll say, like, I personally edged the Charles Johnson fight to him, but that was another close fight as well. He's had some okay performances. He's looked okay. He's just been one of those fighters that's been, like, good. He belongs in the UFC, but nothing special. Kevin Borjas, on the other hand, he is a striker with great hand speed and crazy volume. The problem with Kevin Borjas is he unfortunately has pillow hands, and also, unfortunately, takedown defense and a ground game are holes in his game. After losing to both Joshua Van and Alessandro Costa, who are absolute animals, by the way. Like, dude, talk about coming to the UFC and just like getting fed to some warriors. He just beat the contender everyone was hyped about in Ronaldo Rodriguez, and in this bout, he absolutely shined. He was insanely accurate. The counters were on point. He beat Ronaldo to every punch in that octagon, stayed at safe range, and spun his head around with every shot that he threw. It was like a near perfect performance. And honestly, guys, I always thought this dude had a little bit of potential. Like, I hope he gets the job done, and I hope that he cleans up those holes that we've seen in his game, because he is just entering his prime right now, and I would like to see him have a bright future. There's so much potential, and he's just like, he's really fun to watch. And like I said, coming to the UFC, the dude got fed to some beasts. Not fair when they do that. Like, poor guy, like Joshua Van, Alessandro Costa, and Costa's a very underrated fighter too, man. Sumidarji is probably going to strike with Kevin Borjas. And when these two start striking, while Sumidarji is pretty sleek himself, I'm going to pick Kevin Borjas. I think he's a better striker. And especially after that last performance that he had, dude, he shined in that bout. I'm going to pick Kevin Borjas. I'm back on the train. You'll have to worry when he starts fighting someone who's going to start throwing takedowns out there, but I don't think Sumidarji is going to do that. And I think they're going to have a kickboxing match. I think Kevin Borjas is going to get the better of it. So Kevin Borjas is going to be my pick to get the job done in this particular bout. Now, guys, before we talk about the featured fight over here, let me stop you for just one more second. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and we upload daily on multiple channels. So if you happen to enjoy my commentary, if you happen to like me as a guy, check out the link tree at the top of the description or the direct links to each channel within the description down below. Again, we upload daily on each channel, and I'm having my toes dipped in a bunch of different niches on YouTube. So check it out. We've been seeing some bleed over, and it's been very, very nice to see. Additionally, follow me on X. I want to make more community-based videos. As you guys know, or if you happen to follow this channel, I make a lot of videos taking a look at not just my opinion, but what people are saying online. So I would love to incorporate people watching this channel on this, and I'll be working hard to like post things over on X saying, hey guys, I'm going to make a video about this. Drop your thoughts down below. I would appreciate that. We don't have anybody from any of my channels over from the MMA page, but we have been seeing people over on the actual YouTube channels, which is nice. If you're interested, I would appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get into the featured bout. All right, guys, moving on to the big three over here. We have Sergey Pavlovich taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. Dude, every single time I break down Waldo Cortez Acosta, you guys start commenting down below. So, hey, we'll hear it again. Okay, let's start breaking these two down, starting with Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey Pavlovich is a very simple fighter to break down. He is a powerful boxer with fast hands for the heavyweight division. He recently broke his 2-fight losing streak, getting a win against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, where he proved that there was good separation at the top of the heavyweight division, because, like, the dude came in and he just destroyed Jairzinho for 3 rounds. Before that, he lost to both Tom Aspinall and Alexander Volkov, who are also at the top of the division right there along with him. There's really no shame in losing those bouts, but what he did also, like, and he lost in those fights, he kind of, like, lost the aura that he had. He used to be looked at like this monster who would just walk out there and kill people, but now everybody seems to have jumped completely off that train. He had a good performance again in his last fight again, and he proved that he still belongs at the top. He's still a good heavyweight contender, and barely still in his prime, too. It's just, we don't really have a lot of that at heavyweight. That's the problem. Again, I miss when people were hyped up about Sergey Pavlovich, man. But on the other hand, okay, we've got Waldo Cortez Acosta. He is a fighter that I always get flack on when I break him down. In my opinion, he's a guy that doesn't do anything too well, and he just has some good power in his hands. Like, I'll be honest though, guys, I have a horrible, horrible history in calling his fights wrong, because I'm pretty sure I've picked against him in his last 3 fights. And I don't remember, honestly, I don't remember what I said about the Andrei Arlovsky fight, but I probably did pick Waldo in that one because he fought a fossil. I don't think he's that great, honestly, and I truthfully, with all of my heart, do not mean to be disrespectful. Look, he beat Lucas Brzeski, which means nothing. He fought an old Andrei Arlovsky, beat a complete fraud in Robelis Spine, where he didn't even do a lot in that fight. He beat Ryan Spann, who's one of the most inconsistent and potentially one of the worst fighters that we've ever seen, and he just outstruck Sergey Spivak, which, to be fair, that's a decent win. He's just never done anything that's impressed me, but, like, the dude keeps proving me wrong. Like, could you imagine if he gets a title shot after me saying this? And it's like every single breakdown that we have, dude. He's the guy to come in, and he's the guy to beat Tom Aspinall. He comes in, he floors Sergey Pavlovich, and just walks into a title fight and ruins everything. I just have a horrible history of picking Waldo Cortez Acosta, and I do not believe he's just all that. I don't, but you guys comment down below. You disagree with me every single time, but then he shows up and fights, and I go, like, he won, but again, there's nothing to note. And I think Sergey Pavlovich is going to destroy him. But man, like, should I just bet on Waldo Cortez Acosta at this point? I don't see anything that he offers that's going to beat Sergey. Sergey's going to walk in there, and I think it's going to look very similar to the Jairzinho Rosenstruik bout, where he does his thing and destroys him for 3 rounds. But knowing my history with Waldo, I'm going to pick this fight wrong, so maybe you should start betting on Waldo Cortez Acosta over here. I don't know, man. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I just don't think he's all that good. Sergey Pavlovich is definitely going to be my pick. If he wins this, I'll be convinced, guys, okay? I'll be convinced that he's the real deal. But Sergey Pavlovich is going to be my pick to get the job done. Now, guys, let's move on over to the co-main event in Brian Ortega taking on Aljamain Sterling. This is a very, very fun fight, and a fight that a lot of people wanted to see in the featherweight division once Aljamain Sterling started moving up because, of course, the grappling. But we'll start with Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is an amazing grappler who has good pressure. He's super tough. He has a bigger heart than almost anybody in MMA. He also, in my opinion, has underrated hands, but he does still get hit a lot. He has fallen off a cliff completely in the past few years, taking damage, yapping about Eagles, and somehow scraping by and getting a win against Yair Rodriguez, which, that was a good one to be fair, but other than that, the dude's been super inactive. He's coming off of a beating by Diego Lopez, and as always, like, he showed up, he toughed it out, and was able to find his moments here and there, but I think it's clear that at almost 35 years old, Brian Ortega's out of his prime now. He's still very capable of winning, but he's taking so much damage in his bouts. Sooner or later, he's going to show up in the octagon. It's just going to catch up with him more and more as time goes on, and it seems like he's already well out of his prime, in my opinion anyways. But he's taking on Aljamain Sterling. Speaking about his prime, it's 36. Aljamain Sterling is a strong grappler with okay takedowns, but once he gets to the ground, that's where he shines. He has excellent control and transitions. He's pretty smooth when it gets to the mat in all regards, but now I believe he's only had one fight since the rule changes, and I mentioned that because one of his strategies in the past was to abuse the rule of the grounded opponents to stay safe and eventually find his takedowns, but honestly, since coming up to featherweight division, he's looked like super good, man. Super good. I just still worry about that grounded opponents rule, but he's brought that 135-pound skill set, which is an excellent one. As I mention often, the UFC bantamweight division is literally the toughest and best division in combat sports history. He brought that he brought that skill up. He ragdolled Calvin Kattar, which honestly, okay, doesn't say much, but he also had a very fun performance against Movsar Evloev, who, in my opinion, is championship material. He just made that fight a really, really close fight, and it proved that he belonged, man. He actually held Movsar for a significant amount of time, and it unfortunately wasn't just enough to get the job done. While he didn't get that job done, I still like him at this weight class. My only worry is now that he's 36 years old, and I feel like that came out of nowhere. Like, I look at Aljamain Sterling, I'm like, oh my god, the dude's 36. That's wild. So, I would have been a lot more interested in this fight. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm very interested in this fight, but this would have been a lot closer to pick, and I would have been like, dude, you guys gotta make sure you're careful, like, betting on this fight, because this could go either way if this was two fighters in their primes taking on each other. The styles is excellent, but it's still really fun matchmaking by the UFC. I'm going to go with Aljamain Sterling in this matchup because, again, since coming up to 145, he has looked really good, and Brian Ortega has just been regressing. It's a fighter that's looked good consistently. He was champion at the most dominant, or the best weight class in UFC history. Lost to Sean O'Malley, was a quick knockout, and the Movsar Evloev was still a good outing. Brian Ortega's still been getting pieced up and taking damage. So I'm going to pick Aljamain Sterling in this matchup. I think he's fresher. I think he's healthier. I think he's going to look a little bit better. Now we actually finally have betting odds, and wow, Aljamain Sterling's a big favorite over here. Look, when you have a guy as good of a grappler as Brian Ortega, there's always potential to find a submission, but I feel like they'll kind of stall each other out. Over 2.5 is at minus 222. Yeah, I was going to be like, maybe we could get a 1.5 round line here because I could see them consistently transitioning and it being a really fun fight. Then again, sometimes those grapplers make for a fun stand-up fight. It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one, but I'm going to pick Aljamain Sterling to get the job done in this bout, and I hope the guy wins. I'm not too big of a Brian Ortega fan. But guys, let's move on to the main event over here in a fighter that I am very, very excited to watch in Minyang Zhang. I am excited that he's getting a big name, a big opponent. I'm not going to lie, hopefully he shines and gets the job done. I like what we've seen from him so far, man, but let's break these two down. Okay, we'll start with Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, he is a very big and athletic striker. He can be technical at times, but when he shines when he's wild and just throws his nuclear power all over the place. Sometimes he shows up and he tries to fight technically. Sometimes he doesn't. When he does throw wild, he turns it into a 50-50 fight because the dude's chinny. He unfortunately hasn't been able to pick up a win in over 2 years, but to be fair, he has been losing to some pretty good guys. I feel like that's the story with Johnny Walker, though. He'll scrape by and unimpressively beat somebody who really, isn't that great, and then when it comes to anybody of significance, he's going to just lose his bout and get knocked out. But even in those fights against the lower quality opponents, you just have to worry about the guy's chin because it can shut off from any punch. You can touch it and he goes to sleep. Guys without power are able to sleep him. Now, unfortunately for Johnny Walker, I do believe that he is taking on somebody who has significance in Minyang Zhang. Now, Minyang Zhang, he's a fun fighter on a good win streak. Minyang Zhang is a well-rounded fighter who excels at striking with nice aggression and nice power. He also possesses a good ability on the ground as well and can club and sub his opponents. His elbows, though, his clinch game, this is where he shines in his bouts. When he lets those things go, he's ruthless, he's violent, and he's damaging. The only other thing that I do want to mention about Minyang Zhang is that with his style, you can potentially drag him into a war, and there's always room for success there. He has been on a win streak since before joining the UFC, and he has been absolutely shining in his performances so far. The opponents that he's taken on, they could be better in my opinion, but he's still been looking impressive in all of those wins, and I do have some high hopes and expectations for him in the 205 division. He's fighting at home, he's just entering his prime, and I honestly, guys, I would like to see him get the job done. He is a very, very exciting fighter, and I'm not going to lie to you, man. I just flat out think that Minyang Zhang is going to knock out Johnny Walker, and it's going to be one of those fights, too, where Johnny Walker just has those, goofy, weird KOs. There's nothing really else to break down about that. You have to worry about Johnny Walker's chin. I don't think he's technically better than Minyang Zhang. I think he's slower than Minyang Zhang, and I think Minyang Zhang is going to find his chin and knock him out. If Johnny Walker starts throwing wild like he used to, man, he can turn it into a 50-50 fight. But I think that he's going to get caught. We can't trust him anymore to show up technically. He's past his prime now. He does have a good reach advantage, but Zhang will probably end up closing the distance, and I'm confident in saying that Minyang Zhang does get the job done. Now let's take a look at the betting odds over here. Minyang Zhang, average odds of minus 430. I bet you the round lines are plus money. Yep, over 1.5 at plus 180. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a first round finish in this bout. I'd be shocked if we did not. But my pick again is going to be Minyang Zhang, guys. This is going to be a fun card, and I'm going to be on vacation. I'm going to try to be awake for the fights, especially for Loner Kavanagh and Charles Johnson. Let me know what you think about everything down below. Thank you for watching. Look out for the betting guide video because we didn't get to talk a lot about odds in this video. If you want to keep watching the MMA channel and check this video out, YouTube thinks you'll like it the best. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Take care, everybody.